Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we are discussing the prospect of a new major Hive Fleet rising on the Eastern Fringe. No need for spoiler warnings today as we're talking news, so let's waste no time and just jump straight in. Okay, so yesterday it was that great time of the month where I spied the White Dwarf magazine sitting on the shelf in Tesco. And I very nearly missed this one. My locals refurbing, so the magazines have all been put miles away in a back far corner. But chalk one up to the missus dragging me over to look at all the homeware stuff we just don't need. Because my reward was spying the new White Dwarf. The Emperor truly does protect. And obviously this one's largely about the Age of Sigmar with a new edition dropping. However, there was a great article on the background and setting for Warzone Chalnath. Now, Warzone Chalnath is named after the systems that make up the Chalnath Expanse, and it's actually the location of the Tau Empire's 5th Sphere expansion, the region they know as the Nemyar Atoll. Excuse my Tau. And what's interesting about this is that it's located far away from the rest of the Tau Empire, way off up to the galactic north, deep within Imperium Nihilus, accessible to them only through a stable wormhole known as the Startide Nexus. Now the Towers ever have been attempting to expand throughout the area, using their greater good diplomacy on Imperial worlds where they can, but more often than not finding themselves reduced to war. And this is where it gets interesting, because it's not simply Tau and the Imperium going at it. The Orcs as ever have arrived and been getting stuck into the fighting. But more importantly, Genestealer cults have been rising up in force throughout the Warzone. There's a combination of reasons as to why, varying from world to world, sometimes simply capitalizing on the conflict between Imperium and Tau, other times to outright prevent the Tau from claiming a world, ensuring their cults remain unaffected by the philosophy of the greater good. And on a side note, wouldn't it be great to get a Genestealer cult unit from a Tau world uprising? I don't even know if that's possible in lore, but I don't see why not. They're still flesh and blood after all. A dark Genestealer cult twisted version of the greater good. Now that would be awesome for the tabletop. But I digress. The cults have rose up to make this a real 4-way faction fight. All the factions going toe to toe. And this isn't something necessarily new. The war zones have been around for a while now. However, we know what the Genestealer cults precede. And the stronger the cult, the stronger the call. And there was a real intriguing, teasing little passage in the article that just provoked my imagination. These worlds, and the many others that have fallen into the clutches of Genestealer cultists, now eagerly await and do their best to encourage the arrival of the so-called Star Children. Human and Tau picket fleets alike have already engaged in skirmishes with vanguard tendrils of Hive Fleet Typhon, slithering out of the Praetus Nebula. Should the creeping tendrils of the Tyranid Hive Fleet continue their progress into the Chalnath Expanse, they will find a veritable bounty of biomass upon which to feast. So the Tyranids are descending upon the Chalnath Expanse, the new Hive Fleet of Typhon. And this had me wondering if we could see a new, greater Tyranid threat rise to the galactic northeast. Yes, we have Leviathan emerged all along the western fringe, pushing directly for the throne world, the greatest threat the galaxy has seen yet. But the steam's definitely dropped off a little bit there, as is usually the way after a new edition launches. And a new threat, an extra threat if you will, suddenly appearing to the northeast, the complete opposite side of the galaxy, would really up the ante, enhancing that sense of danger. And it's definitely possible here. Now, obviously there's a vast difference in scale between major hive fleets and minor. However, minor doesn't really do them justice. They are still huge, huge threats. It's just the major fleets, Behemoth, Kraken and Leviathan, are galaxy-ending right here and now kind of scenarios. The other fleets need time to grow, biomass to absorb. And well, that's exactly what Hive Fleet Typhon could have, if the Hive Fleet does manage to press into the expanse and claim the vast resources from all the warring factions therein. We could see a vast rise in Typhon's threat level, going from an already big problem to a we should have done something about this when we had the chance kind of problem. A problem that would be a huge worry within Imperium Sanctus, but arriving across the rift within Imperium Nihilus, it goes to another level entirely. The kind I'm not sure the Imperium could react to quick enough, given the nightmare situation of travel and communication within Imperium Nihilus, and Imperium Sanctus largely tied up with Leviathan's arrival. It could raise some very interesting scenarios. A possible resurgence of Hive Fleet Kraken. Though largely stopped at great cost by the Eldari, there are of course tendrils still out there. Absorbing Typhon's biomass would surely be the resurgence it needed to regain its former power. Or even the other way around, the remnants of Kraken bolstering Typhon even further. What a shock that would be to the Imperium. Not only Leviathan back from the dead, stronger than ever, but now Kraken too, the galaxy truly surrounded. It would feel like the Tyranids just can't be stopped, that they just rise up again and again, the galaxy's true ending. You could imagine Ultramar suddenly becoming panic-stricken about Behemoth maybe rising from the dead as well. It would be an absolutely fantastic scenario. We've also got Guilliman's Crusade launching across the rift as well, which could raise the tantalising prospect of the Indomitus fleets going up against a Hive fleet in its prime. Not the spent force Leviathan was upon Guilliman's arrival to Baal, but a Hive fleet ready and willing to go, giving us our first ever real look at how Guilliman would deal and fight the Tyranids, his thoughts on this new foe. Now that would be really great to see. It could also throw a huge spanner into the works for Guilliman's plans, expecting mainly Chaos forces, instead finding Tyranids on his doorstep. A much different proposition to how the first stage of Indomitus went, which, let's be honest, went pretty well. Or how about the Knight of Imperium Nihilus instead, Lion L. Johnson, attempting to combat the foe without the vastly equipped Indomitus fleets at his disposal, seeing L. Johnson get his first taste of Tyranid action. You could even have the Tyranids entering the Startide Nexus wormhole, a Hive fleet pouring out into the heart of the Tau Empire. Honestly, there's limitless ways it could go, but of course at this point in time it's just a little tease and a lot of speculation. But it's definitely a scenario with the groundwork there, and the possibility of a future. For me, the Tyranids coming out victorious, wiping out the Tau's fifth sphere, cleansing and absorbing the Expanse, rising to major Hive Fleet status on the northeast of the galaxy, would really add an extra element of doom to the Tyranid threat across the galaxy. As if Leviathan on the west wasn't bad enough. Could it be Typhon rising to become the Jaws of Death? Or even maybe the outside possibility of a return and rise of Kraken from the death? I don't know where the Tyranid threat in the Chalnath Expanse will go, but the possibility is very, very exciting. But as always everyone, what do you think? Do you think the Tyranids should come out victorious within the Chalnath Expanse? And if so, where do you think it should go? Should it be Hive Fleet Typhon rising to prominence, a new name and danger for the galaxy? Or would you like to see a return to prominence for Hive Fleet Kraken? Two formerly fought defeated major Hive Fleets returning from the death, Leviathan to the west and Kraken to the east. Should the Tyranids begin to pour through the wormhole, invading the Tau Empire? Or would you like to see them come up against Guilliman and his crusading Indomitus fleets? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow, and if you enjoyed this particular vid then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.